Something I haven't talked a lot about was my transition from going from accountant to being in the health and wellness industry. And one of the things that I haven't touched a lot on was how badly I burnt myself out throughout that transition. And when I left the Cayman Islands for the first time, when I was an accountant and I decided to move into the health and wellness industry and be an entrepreneur, there's so much work that you have to do and so much building and so much networking and so much hustling that you have to do in order to become an entrepreneur that a lot of those things don't pay your bills. And so when I moved back to Canada after my first stint here as an accountant, I actually still worked as an accountant for a very short amount of time when I moved home, because I wanted to build this company and I wanted to move into the health and wellness industry, but I had to do it by building a clientele and building a good reputation for myself. So in the background, I was still an accountant, and I would go from waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning to going to the gym and training people from 5 in the morning until 9 or 10 in the morning. I think it was about 10 o'clock in the morning. And then I would run home, I would change, and I would have to drive downtown for my accounting job, where I would work from noon until 4 every day. I would leave the office, I would drive back up to the other side of town, I would get changed, and then I would train clients from 5 to 9 p.m. And that was my way of building my clientele. But then on top of that, I would work with people from the diet aspect of things, but then also online training. And at night, I would work anywhere from about 9 to 11 just on my online presence and working with people online, building my Facebook. And I burnt myself out. I was burning the candle at both ends. I was trying to live this passion and build a business based off of my passion. But at the same time, I still had to live. I still had to pay my bills. I still had to pay my rent, all of those kind of things. So I had to still work my job as an accountant, but there became a time where I wasn't performing at all or optimally on both sides of the spectrum. I was dropping the ball a lot with the accounting side of things, and then I was dropping the ball with my clients. And I decided at that time that I was just going to fully take the plunge into health and wellness and drop my accounting job. So obviously that dropped my income a lot, but it forced me to hustle, and it forced me to learn a lot more about business, a lot more about myself, where my priorities stood, and how I was actually going to survive if I really wanted to do this full time. So at that point, it was probably the hardest transition for me, because I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have really anyone to lean on or anyone to ask questions to. So I really tried to carve my own path and just figure out, figure out my way through that, like by making a lot of mistakes. And what I can tell you is that if you are wanting to move into being an entrepreneur, if you are wanting to follow your passion and, let's say, quit the corporate world or leave a very comfy job, you need to be okay with being comfortable with the uncomfortable. And if that can help anyone, if my story can help anyone, I'm hoping that this just offers a little bit of insight, and for people to not think that this is an easy transition or it was easy for me at all. I wasn't even a mom at the time. Thankfully, I was single, and I was able to just worry more about myself. But if you are thinking about taking that plunge and quitting your job, or moving into something that's your passion, or becoming your own boss, you need to be able to be comfortable with being uncomfortable and carving your own path and learning how to maneuver your way through everything. So I'm just hoping that this information is a little bit helpful through what it was that I've been through. And if you do have, a goal of becoming an entrepreneur and you do have more questions, drop me a line below and I would gladly chat with you about it and share a little bit more about my story.